Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag and drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show. That's a cultural reference, I'm sure.
Son of a monkey?
Mm-hmm. I wonder where that's common, where you would just be walking down the street, get off the plane or boat. You know where, did you read there's a great article, I should dig this up. Speaking of things that are totally not related to films. There's a great post on the least visited vacation destinations in the world. The least visited.
Like war zone type of places?
That is what I thought you would say. It turns out that there are other reasons not to visit places.
Okay, lice, pestilence.
Well, the one is that I'm going to look at. So the second least visited is Somalia.
Well, okay.
Do you like how I said that as if it would be a surprise? It was a surprise to me. Because I thought that would be number one. Because why? Because I don't know if we have any Somali listeners, but as far as I understand, I've never been there. There is practically no functioning government, and there are pirates.
Yeah.
So that would be one reason not to go.
And now I'm waiting expectantly to hear what beat it out.
Well, gosh, I'm gonna get I'm gonna get it wrong because it's one of those. Oh, I found it. Wait for it. I gotta scroll because it's the list of 25, and there are a lot of them.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So Nauru, Nauru, and it actually has how many tourists went to this country in 2011. Can you guess? Just go ahead and put a number out there. Just put a number. 200 in the year. They have only one airline. You need a visa to get in, and they don't have very many embassies in the world. The entire republic, it's a republic in the island nation in the Pacific. It is the smallest republic in the world. It is 21 square kilometers.
And did you know it was formerly known as Pleasant Island? Why don't more people go?
Why don't more people? People should know about this place. Apparently, unemployment is very, very high. And they just wander back and forth from one end of the island to the next. So Somalia had 500 tourists. 500 tourists in 2012. Kiribati, Marshall Islands. Apparently, people really need to go to the Marshall Islands because it's gorgeous diving, and yet very, very difficult to get there. This is a great list. Great list. Like 25 least visited countries in the world.
I'm going to put those on my bucket list.
You should. Can you think of the number one most visited country in tourism?
The number one most visited for tourism.
Yeah.
I don't know. The U.S.
Number two, with 62.3 million visitors.
So number one, I don't know. Something strange.
No, it's not. It's actually completely predictable.
Japan.
France.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things. Once you know, now you know. Everybody's got to go see the Eiffel Tower.
That's right.
All right.
Well, I'm checking that off. I'm gonna not go to France now.
No, because everyone does that. There's 80 million people have that experience. Why would you do that?
Here I come.
It's Nauru. You just put it on its head. Turn it on its ear. You need to just start at the bottom, work your way up. That's when you don't want to check Nauru off your list if number 2 is Somalia. That's all I'm saying.
Right. That's right.
That's when you want to hold out there for a while.
Oh goodness.
At least until some things get under control. What do I know from nothing? Where are we here?
Welcome to the next
Welcome
reel,
to the next reel, everybody. Do it. You do it so special.
Just despite our help in all of your travel planning, we actually do like to talk about movies over here. So come join us, listen in. Tonight we're going to talk about a great movie from the 70s. We're talking 1976, and so don't. We're not too worried about spoiling films. So it's a pretty old one. We think that we're safe spoiling it by now, but if you do want to not be spoiled, if you haven't seen the movie we're going to talk about tonight, then go watch it and then listen to the podcast. And if you want to participate in the conversation, we're always open to chatting with people, either via Facebook or on our website, wherever. Just head on over to thenextreel.com and hit contact, and you can Facebook us or tweet with us or call us and leave us a voice message or email us, all those wonderful things. And what am I leaving out? iTunes.
You are. That's the one you're leaving out.
Leaving out iTunes. Always, we love it when our listeners head over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. We actually got a new review this week.
No, we didn't.
We did. By fan of the show, Uber Mevans, who is leaving us another message because he just loves us. What can I say? I'm very glad to have found this podcast. It's an enjoyable conversation about movies that has driven me to reconnect with why I love watching movies in the first place. They review lots of films I haven't seen and find things in ones I have that I never thought about. It's not too formulaic, feels casual, and is definitely a can't miss. So
that's so nice.
That is nice.
Do you know what I like? That he noticed that it's casual.
Yeah, he caught on.
One of these days, we're episode.
We would have a theme song.
Yeah, that's right. We're episode 77, and nary a theme song to be found.
That's right.
We're cruising on toward a logo. I can feel that one brewing.
It's a slow boil. Slow boil. It took me a year to get that interview on the website.
We need to talk about what a hero you are.
I'm not really a hero.
You really are. This was for, what was the episode 20-something? 22, I think? Clute?
Yeah, we talked about Clute a while ago. And as a result of our conversation with Clute, and we can go into as much detail as you want, you ended up in some sort of crazy 6 degrees of separation connection to the fantastic co-screenwriter of this film, Andy Lewis. That's right. Yeah, Oscar-nominated screenwriter for that film. And we just kind of started a conversation, and I told him that we do this podcast and we have a blog, and we'd love to put a little interview with him up there. And he agreed to succumb to all of our questions.
Man, did we send him a ton of questions?
Yes,
oh
we
my
did.
Goodness!
And he answered all of them. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
You have been wrestling with the email, going back and forth, and really doing the yeoman's work of editing all this together and getting something that really, I think, tells. It's not just what I love about it. This interview is that it tells not just the story of writing Clute. But it tells such a fantastic story, in his words, of sort of the utilitarian nature of TV and film writing in that era, and it's a unique perspective on the business, and I think it's absolutely worth checking out over on the blog. So, congratulations, man! I'm so glad that we finally got that up there. It's a great read.
Well, thank you. It was a lot of fun, and it did take a while, but I am glad that it's up there, and yeah, check it out, everybody. And let us know what you think.
Yes, absolutely. We would love thoughts. And now, who's next?
Now I'm going to work on tracking down another person to stalk until I can get an interview.
Exactly.
Maybe next year I'll have another one up.
It's the annual Andy interview.
That's right.
That's what we're hoping for. So that's over on the blog at thenextreel.com/blog. Check that out.
Yep.
What other updates? You posted there's some. Let's do a quick Facebook review, can we?
Okay.
I have not seen. I think you posted on facebook.com/thenextreel. Was it you who posted the zombie film, or was that Steve?
That was Steve.
Have you watched it?
I haven't. No.
I won't. I mean, I haven't, and I likely won't because. Man, there, there is something. I was, I don't know if you remember, you don't game much, do you? You don't play a lot of video games?
I don't play video games.
I'm going to put a link in the show notes on the website to the trailer for a video game called Dead Island.
Oh, I remember that video game.
Yeah.
That was an actual arcade video game.
No.
Wasn't it?
Nope.
Oh,
it was just a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
It was Xbox kind of a thing. And I never actually played the game either. I was sort of, your family is on vacation, and it is, and there is a zombie outbreak on a beautiful island of paradise. And that's the general theme as far as I know. I didn't get past the trailer. The trailer is horrifying because it shows it's an amazing piece of art. First of all, it is it's backwards. It's done told in reverse, and it starts with this close up on the eyeball on an eyeball of a daughter of the girl. And there's a slow pull out, and you see that she is dead on the pavement. And over the course of the next, 2 minutes, she lifts up, kind of gravity defies, her, and she lifts up, and you see now that it's in reverse, and she has just fallen, and you're watching her rise back up into the, whatever 6-story window and go back through the glass as it unshatters. And then she is on the back of her father, and she's biting his neck, and you see as she, through the process of her attacking her family to her being attacked and watching her dad like lose control of her, and as she's taken by the zombies and bitten, and it is like, I saw that, I was just like, I don't know how old my daughter was when I saw that. She was like 4, and I was like, that's it, I'm never taking her anywhere ever. Because of zombies.
Right.
And so now I love zombies. I celebrate the entire catalog. And yet if it's a zombie family story, swear me out, that's like the subject. If there's like some sort of a little love story that includes a father and a child and zombies, then I turn my head.
Yep, I hear you. That's like there was that Oscar-winning foreign film that came out back in 2005, I think, called Tsotsi from South Africa.
Uh-huh.
And my wife and I put it in to watch, and this was shortly after our daughter had been born, and we put it in to watch, and we're just relaxing and decided to watch this movie while our daughter was sleeping. And the first thing that happens is this criminal, like, steals this car and doesn't realize that the woman that he threw out of the driver's seat, there was a baby strapped into the back. And then he has to try to raise this baby. My wife and I turned it off. I have not ever gone back to watch this movie because it was like the worst timing ever. I'm like, there's no way I'm ever going to like this guy. Ever. It's supposed to be a great movie, but I couldn't do it.
Nope. There's a little too close to home.
Yep.
Maybe when she goes to college.
Maybe.
I'll have a lot of catching up to do. Well, let's talk about trailers briefly. I think we've derailed a little bit. I'm going to be really fast on my trailer. Your trailer's better, I think.
I'll be fast too, though. But I think it looks great. I had Sam Rockwell, a new thriller with Sam Rockwell and William H. Macy called A Single Shot that looks to be pretty gripping, a pretty interesting, horrifying film about a man who goes hunting. And he's trying to illegally poach deer. He accidentally shoots a teenage girl instead of a deer, and then he tries to dispose of the body. And then in the process, he comes across a lot of money, and all of a sudden it turns into this big, like, people chasing people sort of film in this as these criminals are after him, and people are just trying to figure out what's going on. It's got Sam Rockwell, William H. Macy, Jeffrey Wright, Jason Isaacs. Looks dark, looks dramatic, looks like a kind of a really interesting, heavy sort of film. I'm kind of curious to see the direction they take with it. So it'll be a dark, brooding, suspense mystery film.
It should absolutely check out the trailer, if only because it's another one like what we were just talking about. It just like it really the is zombie, right? I mean, it's like a work of art. I think the trailer. It's a beautiful piece of entertainment in itself.
Yeah, absolutely
worth checking out. Speaking of zombies, real quick, did the showrunner for Walking Dead, Glenn Mazzara, is retired from The Walking Dead and has moved on, and they say he's going to write The Overlook Hotel. Have you heard much about this?
I haven't heard anything about it.
Prequel to The Shining.
So there's a prequel, and then Stephen King just wrote the sequel.
Yeah, right.
so it's going to turn into a trilogy.
Nice.
Oh boy, I don't know.
I'm not all that excited about it, but I do think in terms of custodian of the brand. I like what Mazzara's showrunner. He's done good work on. I'm loving The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Okay, so my trailer, another big budget one, Elysium, the first non-teaser trailer has come out for Elysium with the handsome, ruggedly handsome
and bald
Jason Bourne. And it is the first where we get to see a little bit more of the Matt Damon and Jodie Foster. We get to see a little bit more of the experience of the film, set in 2154, apparently on a planet right underneath the Halo planet. And it's another one, sort of like, what was the one we talked about where there was the great gravity stuff they had going on there, where you had the upside down planets.
Yeah, upside down.
Right. That's well played. And it's kind of the rich people live on the ring, and Matt Damon and his merry band of insurgents are going to make hay upon it, and they do so with this funky bionic suits that they inject into or they screw into their bones. And so it's one that looks very exciting. And yet, even so, I wasn't very excited. What does that say?
Well, did you read the script?
Yeah, it was a good script.
I liked
it. Was
the script.
Part of the. We got that through the. That was through the.
No, we got it sent from a friend of the show.
Oh, okay, all right, all right.
But it's. I like it. I think that the look of it is really fitting with the way that it plays out in the story, and I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of it. I think I'm pretty excited to see it. I don't know if I'm exploding with joy or anything like that.
Exploding with joy.
Yeah,
I'm still, I put that in, and probably shouldn't. I put it in the same category as Oblivion, and I am much more excited to see Oblivion than I am to see Elysium.
Interesting. I think I don't know. I think I'm more excited to see Elysium. But
I'm most excited to see Now You See Me. I don't want to steal another trailer slot, but everybody should go watch the next
absolutely
second trailer. It is fantastic. Makes me want to be a magician. Okay.
Or a burglar.
Or a burglar. Either one. What do I care? I just want to work with Zuckerberg. Shall we talk about the movies?
Yes.
1976.
That's right. It's a gritty year.
Man. It's funny because my experience watching this movie, I was surprised. It's been a long time since I've seen Taxi Driver, and we're following up on our experience with Marathon Man last week. And my experience, insofar as both of these films share that same kind of 70s grit, they're not very happy films. I found myself having a very different experience watching them, reacting to them week over week. I'm gonna kick it off. Tell me what you love about Taxi Driver? I'm actually making an assumption that you love Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver, I do. It was a film that I didn't connect with when I first saw it. It took me a while to get into it because it is a dark, gritty film. And, growing up, I was definitely not the dark, gritty movie sort of guy. I mean, I liked a wide variety of genres, but these kind of like heavy, dramatic sorts of things I didn't get into quite as much. And but over time, and as I've gotten older, I've certainly kind of grown to love these sorts of films a lot more. And this film, the psychology of the character, I really find fascinating. I really enjoy entering this horrifying world of Travis Bickle and just seeing this terrifying path that he ends up taking. And it's a really interesting study in psychology. And that's, I think, why I really enjoy the film, aside from the fact that Martin Scorsese, a few films into his career, really has already established himself to be a true filmmaker, a true understander of an understander.
He's an understander.
He is truly someone who understands how to work with film and how to make the camera work for him, and make his editing choices work for him, and his actors work for him, and everything that he has on screen is there because he's thought about it and he's planned it, and he really gets, it's the way that he perceives the world and the way that he attempts to put what he perceives onto film. I am always engrossed with in every one of his films, and in this film in particular, I just feel he really tapped into this darkness, maybe within himself, or maybe it was just kind of the zeitgeist of the times, or whatever it was. He really tapped into something in the making of this film, and everything that he did in the process of making this film, from Paul Schrader's script with Robert De Niro as Travis Bickle, really all seemed to be finely tuned in order to portray this psychopath as he kind of journeys down this road to kind of boiling over.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All of that. And I still found myself bored to tears through much of it.
Wow.
This is a funny movie for me because there are movies that I really love because and I love them and I appreciate them because I love them, and there are movies that I love because I appreciate them, and then there are movies that I feel like there is so much cultural peer pressure to love, and yet I don't connect with them.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is one of those movies that I find is a more challenging viewing because there are so many elements of it that I deeply, deeply appreciate. But those elements are so sort of isolated from the overall arc of the film, the pacing of the film, major transformations in the film, that I find that it's like a dot to dot that doesn't have all the numbers. So you're not quite sure where to draw the next line. And so by the time you reach the end, the climax of the film, I find myself sort of, disconnected from the first hour of pain, even though I'm celebrating the climax of this film in a way that I feel like is extraordinarily powerful. And so, but unearned in some respects. And I'm a little bit tortured by it because I would just add that this coming off of Mean Streets, which I find much sort of less kind of clumsy throughout, and Mean Streets was just a couple of years before, and it had it was Scorsese and De Niro and Harvey Keitel, and I find myself really enjoying that movie more. I can't. One of the reasons I haven't seen Taxi Driver is because it's so low on my list of movies that I would just put on to watch.
Interesting. Well, it's interesting because, one, I like this film much more than I like Mean Streets. I have a harder time watching Mean Streets. Granted, I haven't watched Mean Streets in quite a while, but I have a hard time getting into that film, much like you're saying, your opinion of this film. But also I find it interesting because the way you're describing Taxi Driver is how I felt when I first saw it. Like I had like I said, my mindset wasn't really connecting with this sort of film. And it could just be that you're just not in the mood at this point to just be watching this sort of dark psychology of a film. I don't know
if that's necessarily true because I really, I found myself having a very different reaction with Marathon Man, which is also dark.
Look, it is. It's not dark where you're, getting into the mind of a killer, though. But this is a much darker film.
But see, no, here's the thing. I mean, this movie, I think, I'm not sure if what is our scale of darkness? Like, where does this film sit next to Seven, next to Fight Club? I would put those on any day of the week next to Taxi Driver. I find the execution of Taxi Driver is frustrating, and I find the character, the sort of redemption story of Bickle is not. It's frustratingly not compelling.
But it's not a redemption story.
Well, there is, but see, that's the trick. It's not a redemption story. There is some redemption in this film, and it comes in the form of Iris. And so that's where we get to celebrate. But that's the thing that I find so sort of painful about watching this movie, is because when we see the end of the film, this transformation from I'm a bubbling over maniac to I'm now I'm sort of kind of dealing with the accidental heroism that comes from freeing this teenage prostitute, is not something that I could connect with.
But it also reflects, kind of a sign of the times. I mean, this is not necessarily the sign of the times, a sign of his place in things and the way that the world reacted to something like this. This is a man who went to kill this possible presidential candidate, this senator. He went to kill him, and if he had accomplished that, his heroism, there wouldn't have been no heroism. He would have been targeted as an absolute cold-blooded killer. Instead, because he fails at that, he goes and succeeds at killing this other guy, and it just because for no reason to gain glory because he's killing someone is really just to, like, in a weird way, trying to free one of these women from their father figure or something. They've got kind of this connection to these guys, and he's trying to, cleanse them or something. And it's only accidental that because he ends up, it's like this accidental heroism because people view him that way. It's somebody labels him as a hero, and it's almost a reflection of society that they view this man as a hero without realizing who he really is. And then at the end, you get that sense that, he still is this ticking time bomb. There's still something going on with him, and it's only going to be a matter of time before he bubbles over again.
Okay, I should take a step back because I do agree with that, right? I mean, fundamentally, the strength of this film really is in that sort of third act where we really get to see the transformation from after his failed attempt from sadistic wreck to accidental hero.
Mm-hmm.
There is, and I guess that's what you're getting at. There's the way I was sort of characterizing it in my head was that there's no victory in that transformation.
Yeah, there's not. I mean,
and
there's
by design. I mean, I get that. I get that. But what they introduce in this character of Iris, and I think what I find sort of disconnected from the role of that character in the film, it's like she comes in, she sort of splashes in a little bit too late and becomes the sort of false object of his affection, his obsession. Because he couldn't get the senator, he couldn't get Cybill Shepard. She's always been a little standoffish, frankly. And then can't make that connection with Iris, and then can't get or can't get the senator, and then can't get the connection with Iris, and so he goes crazy because he feels like nobody's listening to him, and we get this sort of through his writings, through his absolutely painful voiceovers of his writings in his notebook. We get this I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore kind of a thing. And I find it is just chaos leading up to that transformation. I find it so hard to it just doesn't stand up for me. Now, I agree with you. I think where the strength of the movie, where it happens and where I find myself reconnecting really is in that third act. But it's not because of what the film has earned for me. It's because of the sort of the Scorsese survey. I mean, it's the way he moves the camera through these scenes of horrific violence, going from these long stationary cuts of two men talking to one another and sort of this jolting kind of New York banter to these sweeping and beautifully completely vertical overhead tracking shots through these sort of the scenes of great violence that I find myself just really sucked into, and then it's over. And I find myself saying, okay, I'm going to go watch something I really enjoy the whole thing of.
Oh, my goodness. You need to watch it again. What the shots of the whole scene afterward when he's out and Betsy gets back in his cab. You don't like that scene?
No.
You get this floating head of Betsy, like she's this little, conscious voice of his conscience or something.
Talking, no, I know what you're talking about. Yes, no, I do. I do. I like that, but I don't feel much of a connection to it. I like the visuals. I don't feel the substance.
Wow.
I had no relationship with her. That was the whole chase of, and that's one of the great weaknesses of the film is that relationship, that whole chase, De Niro chasing Cybill Shepard is, I think it just ends up being a waste of breath. For me. I just can't wait.
Well,
can't watch it.
Here's the thing. I think this film, it's a dark film. This is a dark film. It's hard to get into. It's hard to like because it's a very you're in this mind of this crazy man basically over the course of the film. I think there are probably a good chunk of Americans who are not going to sit down and watch this film because it's just not the sort of film that they want to watch. They want to go put on, the next Adam Sandler film or something like that.
Oh, please.
No,
really?
That's
where you're going to go with this? So because I don't like this film, I'm going to need to go watch Adam Sandler?
That's right.
I will not be your straw man, Pumpkin.
What I'm saying though is this is a film that's a much more heavy psychological, welcome to the crazy man's brain sort of film. There's a lot of people who aren't going to like it, and I think that's true, and I don't think there's a problem with you not connecting with it, not liking it. There's probably a lot of people who don't.
But my contention is it's not because it's a dark film. I like plenty of dark films. It is because this isn't a good one.
Well, I disagree with you. I think it's a great film, and I can't believe that you think it's not a great film. I am so shocked. Right now.
Okay, I want to talk about some things I really love about it.
Oh, please.
I love that. I love certain sort of character elements of Travis Bickle before
you would pick the Fifth Element over this.
No. There would. Oh, yes. I mean, I would put it on. I would put the Fifth Element on before this one. But I certainly would agree that there is more. There actually more effort into the substance of this film than there was in the Fifth Element. I'll give you that. A for effort.
Oh boy.
I particularly love Travis. Being so disconnected from the reality of people that he thinks it's a good idea to take Betsy on their first date or second date to a porno.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Okay.
I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was a great choice, and I thought it taught us a lot about his character. I thought that was a great element. Okay. He's totally clueless. I think that's fantastic. And then he keeps trying to apologize for it. It doesn't just go away. It's like he really, you really get the feeling that he thought this was a smart thing to do.
Well, and what's fascinating about that aspect of Travis is that this is a man who, he drives around, and despite what you think of his voiceovers, I mean, I think they're very enlightening as well. And he drives around in the sewers, basically. The first image of the film is this, like the smoke rising from the street, almost like this taxi cab emerging from hell. And he's like this, what's the boatman's name in hell? Charybdis? Yeah, and he's like boating people around in hell. Like all these awful people are out in the streets at night, and he's out there. He's a man who purposefully puts himself out in the worst environment. And it's like he's torn between these two worlds of of despising this awful world, yet putting himself into it. And then he sees Betsy, who's this angelic figure, and he wants to sully her almost. It's almost like, subconsciously he's trying to dirty her. Yeah. And then he sees Iris, who is in this dirty world, and he wants to rescue her and take her out of this filth. And he can't believe that she's in it. And it's this strange battle between these two worlds that's fighting within him. And I find that an absolutely fascinating thing. And yes, the fact that he takes Betsy to a porn film is a genius bit of writing on Paul Schrader's part.
Absolutely is. And I want to sort of jump on that point too, because it gets into the next thing I really do like about the choices that they made in this film, and that is in the very beginning when the way we learn about Travis Bickle comes in the form of a brief conversation in a job interview where he goes in to try to get this job to become a taxi driver. We find out that he is an honorably discharged Marine. We are assuming, though they never mention it, that obviously he came back from Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And that, from he can't sleep. He's dealing with some of this sort of what we're, again, making some assumptions around post-traumatic stress. He can't sleep. He's up all night. He figures he might as well make some money. And he says, I will drive anywhere, anytime. And he says it over and over and over. Will you drive in Brooklyn? Will you drive in the Bronx? Will you drive anywhere, anytime? Anywhere, anytime. Put me anywhere you want, anytime. And there is, I think, something powerful to that choice, that where he is taking an active role in moving away from healing, right? I mean, his choice is not to come home and right. to find a place and find a cure for the insomnia. He's going out to find something to do because he's an insomniac. Right. And he's putting himself in a place where he is exposed to even more horrible things. How could he not turn into a monster in some respects? Right. Right. It's a nature. Right. This is a nature nurture story in that respect, and I think that element of it is very powerful. Yeah. I love his intense physical training montage. Montage.
Which is set to a wonderful piece of music by Elmer Bernstein, who this was his last score, and the music there is just fantastic. It's just brass, very harsh tones, and it just works. It fits so well with him, pumping up and really getting ready to go out and do his gritty worst.
Well, and that's one of the things I love about this sequence is that you see him doing pull-ups and push-ups and all sorts of stuff, and then holding his wrist over an open fire.
That's right.
Right? It's like all stuff that you might do if you're getting in shape, and then the one thing that you would not.
That's what I do after I work out.
And then I pull out one tooth with pliers.
That's right.
Just one. 30 days to great shape. And eating through a straw.
Oh, man.
So I particularly like that element. Again, it's another sort of dot in this character map of Travis Bickle. I love the sequence where he shoots the robber in the convenience store. Why do I love that? I can tell you.
You tell me.
Because at that point, what we are seeing there is earned. It comes at a point in the story where he has now acclimated himself to, to being more of a monster than he was a man. And he shoots this guy without even thinking, and there is no reaction other than, I don't have a permit for this. But even more important than Travis Bickle's role, De Niro's portrayal in the convenience store happens after he leaves, where we are given this unbelievable view of the texture of this community as the convenience store owner hauls off and beats the crap out of this guy with, I don't know, a tire iron or something.
This nearly dead guy.
And he's already been shot and he's nearly dead. I mean, he's clearly unconscious. He's taken the gun and then he goes off and just beats him silly. on the floor of this convenience store, and then props him up and beats him some more. And I think that gives us this. I think that gives us another great sort of view of look at where Travis has put himself in this place where this is just terrible.
Yeah, this is the world that he's in. It's a world of this gritty, thoughtless violence, and it's everywhere. It's pretty horrifying. Yeah. And that scene also interestingly speaks to this interesting, not really spoken, but this subtle perception that we get of Travis and his racism and his racist thoughts. Right? I mean, he says he doesn't care who he picks up, he doesn't care where he goes, but when he goes and sits down and hangs out with the other cabbies in the little cabbie shack where they all sit, he seems to have kind of a not so wonderful relationship with the black cab guy, and then he has this this stare down with this black guy who's sitting back in the corner. Kind of, I don't know if he's a pimp or what, but he's kind of dressed up in his zoot suit, sitting in the back, and you get this sense that there's this racist feeling that Travis has. It's never spoken, but it's another interesting element to him that and just to the world of this film and this man that we are given.
Totally agree. Three more things that I really love. Jodie Foster.
Mm-hmm. 12 years old making this film.
They had to give her a psych test.
Yeah.
Make sure she wouldn't go batty. I'm not sure it worked. Great actress. And she is one of those, and I made the crack about Chloe Grace Moretz last week, but they are of the same cloth.
Yeah,
I think that there are actresses out there that are of that cloth that, and this is just a terrific performance, however brief, by one of the great American actresses.
Something that's interesting that Jodie said, talking about De Niro, when they were rehearsing their scene for their cafe, their little diner scene.
Mm-hmm.
He
where she eats the best sandwich ever.
Yeah, best sandwich, jam and sugar
on bread.
Where he'd call her up periodically when they were shooting, and he'd invite her to go have dinner and just and chat. And they would get there, and he wouldn't talk, and so she would just sit there, and she would just talk with people around her and all this sort of stuff, and they just kind of have these times out. And eventually, he got to this point where they started rehearsing their lines, and they would rehearse their lines and rehearse their lines and rehearse their lines over and over, and they would just keep going to the point where she was bored to tears rehearsing her lines. Remember, this is a 12-year-old actress, so she was all about memorizing the lines. But what happened was she got so bored doing the lines, and then he would throw in little other lines here and there that weren't scripted, just to see what she would do and how she would react. And what it did is, one, it got her as a young actress very comfortable with working with him, and two, it helped develop a natural feel with the scene where it didn't feel like a scripted scene. It actually just felt like something where this was just a conversation that was happening. It helped her as an actress get to a point where it's the lines themselves are so rote, you're just reacting to the other person, and it almost doesn't matter at that point. And it was a really interesting lesson learned for a young actress that she got from a wonderful actor, which I thought was a really interesting story. I was very happy to hear that.
Is actually a really interesting
very cool
story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jodie Foster, she stands out to me as one. Also, I should add the great Albert Brooks.
His first film.
I thought he was.
He's been in two very violent films that we watched.
I know.
Thrive.
Yeah. Maybe that was a good one. I could have used more of him.
Yeah,
I could always use more Albert Brooks.
More of the Brooks fro.
Right. Let's see, New York. We've already talked about sort of how New York is portrayed, but in this film, I really see New York as, and I think one of the things that Scorsese is so adept at his relationship with New York as a character. And I think this is one of those films that really allows you to deliberate on the role of New York as it interacts with the characters in the film. And I think I think it just sort of exemplifies that activist role of a city, kind of the emergent behavior of a city that comes out of it. I love the way he photographs New York. I love the use of reflections and mirrors and lights, and I find myself mesmerized by it.
Yeah, and he said, they shot this film on location in New York. Unlike Mean Streets, which surprised me, that Mean Streets was mostly shot in L.A.
Right.
Only a little bit was shot in New York, but this was entirely New York. And but he said the interesting thing I thought was that he didn't feel it had to be New York. It really could have been it's really a story of any urban environment. New York just happens to have like the most recognizable taxi service, and for that it really made sense to put it there. But he said it really is just all about just any urban environment that has this sort of kind of scummy life, kind of seething up through the bowels of the center.
Well, what's funny about that comment is just how inseparable New York is from this film now. Right?
Yeah.
He can
exactly.
say that all he wants, but what he did was, I think, very special. For better or ill, was very special for the city of New York.
Absolutely. This film makes me not want to go to New York.
Right. It makes it. Like, there's a lot of texture and color. Yeah. I don't need to go there. I don't want to go to there. Okay. And my last thing. I know I've been totally. I know you're the one who loves this movie, and I'm just going off on the things that these are the elements the 6 things that I really love about this film. Right. And last is the music.
Absolutely.
And I know I know what a cinema music impresario you are, and so I'll let you talk more about it in detail. But I just want to say that this film, I think, has one of the best visuals to score pairings of certainly any film of the era. It is extraordinarily well executed score for this film.
Absolutely.
Every sequence. There isn't a sequence that has music that is at all jarring. It just really adds to what you're looking at. Every single frame is just really well done.
It's a beautiful score. Elmer Bernstein's very last. He wrote the score. He wasn't very interested in doing the film. He's like, I don't write scores for movies about taxi drivers. And Scorsese was like, well, it's not really about a guy who just drives a taxi. Here, read the script. And he enjoyed the script and decided he'd do it. Obviously, he wrote it and he recorded it. I believe it was just like right before Christmas, like December 23rd and 24th, something like that, in 1975. And literally, like, he finished scoring. He gave Martin Scorsese some notes about the score. He helped him place that last sting right at the end of the film when De Niro, it's almost like he sees something and he adjusts the mirror and you hear that bing,
bing. Yeah.
He helped him kind of place that and everything, and had him reverse it so it played the way that Scorsese wanted it to and everything. And he went back to his hotel and he died, and that was it. He died. It was like literally
haunting.
He just finished the score and then he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty amazing that, literally the very end of his life, he turned out, I think, one of his great scores. I mean, this is a composer who's done many, 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 many great scores.
So tell me more about the relationship between Elmer Bernstein and Bernard Herrmann on this film.
Oh, why do I keep saying Elmer Bernstein?
I don't.
It's Bernard Herrmann.
It's Bernard Herrmann, right?
Sorry, yeah.
Like I'm looking at it, and I know. See, the reason I say that is because, like, I think though that because there are credits that go back and forth. Like you look for the Taxi Driver theme, and I get an Elmer Bernstein credit for it, right? That's a funny thing.
I think the reason that I just confused those two is because in the I want to say
there is a Elmer Bernstein conducts the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra Bernard Herrmann film scores, and that may be that connection that he.
No, you know what it is. It's the thing that got me tripped up is that Scorsese had Elmer Bernstein rescore Bernard Herrmann's music for Cape Fear when he did Cape Fear. That's why I all of a sudden got the two of them confused. Yeah, but Bernard Herrmann is who I've been talking about, and just foolishly sounding like an idiot talking about.
No, well, not anymore, because you're redeemed.
Bernstein. Yeah,
total redemption.
But yeah, Bernard Herrmann. Thank you. But yeah, it's a.
I'm gonna go back and insert. I'm gonna do some punch inserts there of Bernard Herrmann. Bernard Herrmann.
That's right. Just have me record his name a few ways. Yeah. Bernard Herrmann. Bernard Herrmann. Bernard Herrmann.
Okay.
People can hear me being an idiot.
That's right. It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were saying about how great the score is.
It truly is. I mean, it's a stunning score. It's amazing. It's this jazzy feel of the city, like you were saying. It really taps into New York just as much as the film does. I mean, I hear that kind of main love theme for like Betsy's theme with the horns and everything, and I feel like I'm in New York. It's this gorgeous music that fits the vibe of a city at night. I just always feel that when I hear the music here. And then the other bits, God's Lonely Man, the bit that is when the more contemplative one. And I want to mention briefly, we came across that fun album, Petra Goes to the Movies.
Right.
Petra Hayden did this whole album, basically doing her solo acapellas of a whole bunch of different film scores, which are really fun to listen to. One of which is the God's Lonely Man theme from Taxi Driver. And it's interesting to hear it as an acapella version. But all the music that he wrote really fits the vibe of the film so well. And I really enjoy listening to this score. I think the themes are wonderful, and it's definitely worth checking out for that.
Truly. Okay, so I just went through my 6 highlights, and I think they cover for me the things that I really do genuinely like about this film, and that's pretty much it.
That's such a shame. That's such a shame.
No, what? It's not, and that's why I'm so tortured about this film, because I can't stress this enough. I don't hate it. I just find it disjointed and slow for most of it, and it keeps me watching to the very end because of these 6 elements that kind of have me tied in to it.
I think it's interesting that this is a time in cinema, and I don't know if I can think of any film recently. Maybe you can point out to me, but it was a time in cinema when a lot of these big filmmakers nowadays, like Brian De Palma, Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, who else? John Milius, and a bunch of big filmmakers. There's others that Oliver Stone. They were all kind of coming out of film school and starting to make their films back in the 70s, maybe early 60s, and there was an element, and it's tying into what we were talking about with the 70s films last week. There was still an element of experimentation that they would throw in. And I don't see that a lot in films anymore, but Scorsese would do that a number of times in this film. Like there's the shot where you have a little bit that kind of repeats itself. You start seeing this shot of De Niro as he's turning his head, and you hear him doing his voiceover monologue as he's writing in his journal, and then it cuts, and we see the exact same thing happen all over again, almost fitting within the psychology of the character. But it's an interesting little bit of experimental filmmaking. Not only that, but there's really interesting shots that he does, like when you see De Niro coming up to the taxi station and he kind of goes off of screen right, instead of the camera panning to follow him, the camera pans left and does a whole 360 all the way around back to the door where we see him enter. And it's like a jarring study in filmmaking and what you can do and experimenting with the tools that you have in order to create new feelings within your audience. And I find it fascinating that this was a time when filmmakers were doing that. And I'm hard pressed to say who's doing that these days. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody, but it's not coming to me.
I know. And it's the same thing. I think about into the 90s, with sort of Robert Altman, and then now he's gone. So who's, there is this list of filmmakers that and I think studios that are sort of risk averse. And so, but where you do see a lot of that, I think where there is YouTube and Vimeo, and you're seeing a lot of the independent artists of today, shooting more with cameras they can do more with in more interesting ways. Yeah. Even than we saw in the 60s and 70s, just because of the flexibility of the technology. So it's there, and I think we, but I really think, just on your point about playing with the camera and what you can do with motion in the frame, in particular what Scorsese does here, experimenting with the mix of long conversational cuts, to movement with the camera, to movement inside the cab. That sort of visual pacing, I think, is fun to be a part of. Mm-hmm. It feels like you're on a ride. I think. Yeah, I think that's, for me, that's kind of a good way to characterize it. It feels kind of like you're on rails. It's like you're on one of the Disney kind of rides, and it turns you to show you what you need to look at, and then it's going to move you and show you in something else. When he walks in at the end and walks down that long hallway, that's really what I feel like. I get close to him, I get far away from him. I feel like Scorsese is really manipulating me insofar as he's manipulating what's on screen.
Do you think Disney will license this as their next big ride?
Oh God, would that be great? Taxi driver.
The taxi driver.
Welcome to California Adventure. Taxi driver on the boardwalk.
Oh, man. So this film, going back to the origins of this film, film, Paul Schrader, was in a very dark place, and his story to getting this script written is pretty interesting. I won't go into all the details. I know we're running a little long, but he was in a dark place. He came up with this dark script. He realized basically he had not talked to anybody like for a few weeks, and he realized that this sense of loneliness, and that kind of characterized what became this script. And as he wrote the script, he realized it's not just about loneliness. It's about this person putting themselves in a place of this self-imposed loneliness and kind of forcing it upon themselves. And I found that really fascinating, this world of loneliness. It tapped into a lot of people at the time. We had talked about, back when we were doing The Sting, excuse me, we had talked about Julia and Michael Phillips, who produced The Sting, and how this was one of the other big films that they ended up producing in the 70s. This, Close Encounters, Taxi Driver, I think were their three really big 70s films that they had done together. They had basically heard that, there's all these filmmakers coming out of schools with all this great material that nobody was listening to them. They had no way to get their voices heard. They started tapping into that. That's how they found The Sting. That's how then they found Taxi Driver. Brian De Palma, I think, was their friend or something, and gave them a copy of it. He said, it's not really something for me, but maybe you guys can do something with it. And so they took it, and they thought it was really interesting. Martin Scorsese, Brian, was also friends with De Palma, who had given him a script, and he's like, oh my God, I want to make this. He hadn't really done anything except Boxcar Bertha for Roger Corman at the time. and he was talking to the Phillipses about wanting to make it, and they're like, well, we want to, we'd rather you have a bigger track record first. And so, he kept bumping into them time after time, and then he had done Mean Streets, and they saw the cut of that, and they're like, okay, well, maybe he's got something. And they started kind of putting it together, and he and De Niro knew each other, and De Niro really wanted to be a part of it. And he was at this point finally where he had just won an Oscar for The Godfather Part 2. Scorsese not only had done Mean Streets, but then had done Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, kind of a little more. It was with a studio, so they felt a little more comfortable that he could do that, and all the pieces fell in place, and they went forward and made it. I don't think anyone went into the film thinking that it was going to be a moneymaker, thinking that it was going to turn into something that would attract a lot of people. I think they felt it was really kind of a work of passion for them, a labor of love, and maybe some people would like it, but I don't think they were expecting it to have the reception that it did get, which was pretty positive. This was it received really well.
Yeah, and obviously is held up
For everybody but Pete.
Now, I know I'm not alone. I may be alone in the crowd that listens to this show.
I think you're alone. This film was nominated.
Challenge accepted.
This film was nominated for 4 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Original Score, Bernard Herrmann, who unfortunately was also nominated for Best Score for Obsession the same year, one of Brian De Palma's 2 films that came out that year. But because Bernard Herrmann was nominated for both scores, he essentially canceled each other out that year, which is unfortunate. It was not. Jodie Foster was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and of course, De Niro was nominated for Best Actor. And it was a good time. And then it was nominated for a couple of Golden Globes, Best Original Screenplay, Best Actor, and then at the Cannes Film Festival, it won the Palme d'Or. And that was really kind of a big stepping stone, I think, for Scorsese to start moving on to more things, bigger and better things after this.
Boy, he did, huh? There's a guy who knows how to leverage success. That's Scorsese.
Scorsese, I believe. Scorsese. What was that from? There was something. It's Scorsese.
It's Scorsese.
I can't.
Okay, so made it on a shoestring.
Yeah, it was $1.3 million budget that they had. At the time, $1976, it still wasn't a ton of money, but it's a decent bit of money that they had. They shot it. Gosh, I can't remember how many weeks they said that they shot it. It was funny about preparing for the role for this. De Niro was filming 1900 for Bertolucci in Rome when he started preparing for Taxi Driver. And in order to really kind of get into the world of a taxi driver, he would actually fly back from Rome on the weekends.
Oh.
He got his taxi driver's license, and he would drive around on the weekend as an actual taxi driver to get the vibe of all of that. And there's an actual story where this guy got into the cab. He happened to be an actor, and he noticed De Niro, and he's like, "Is that De Niro?" And he looked at his name card up at the front, and it said Robert De Niro. And he's like, "Oh my God, Robert De Niro! I'm an actor too. You're a big hero of mine." He's like, "Oh, thanks." He's like, "You just won an Oscar. Are things really that bad?" It's like, yeah, they are.
I did not know that story. That's a good story.
Yeah, it's a great little bit. So
it's a good bit.
It is a good bit. So, I mean, we don't have to keep going into why you don't like it and why I do, but it's
why I'm wrong and you're right. That's what you wanted to say.
That's right. It's a great film, regardless of what you think of it. It's held up over time, and it's generally considered a classic. I interrupted the numbers. So it cost $1.3 million to make. It made domestically about 28.2 million. So it did pretty handsomely.
Yeah. You don't. What do you have? Do you have the do you have access to the sales of the ongoing sales of DVDs and such and so? Does that exist?
All I found was it didn't. What I did find was, let me look again. I closed that tab. What did they say? It had an interesting statistic about domestic gross was actually 27,300,000. Domestic lifetime gross was 28.2 million. So I guess from getting re-released, and I don't know if that would include DVD and stuff like that, but it obviously made another $900,000 since it left theaters after its first run.
Right.
So it's it's a film that I think has kept the studio happy over time. Columbia, I'm sure, has continued to make pretty pennies with it.
Well, I don't know what to say. I've said my piece. It's a movie that I feel like I'm bullied into liking, when more than anything else I just plain appreciate it. Mm-hmm. But I don't really like it all that much.
That's fine.
Yeah. It's going to make it hard to flick chart.
It's going to make it hard to flick chart. It is, because you're going to want it on the bottom.
You know what? I would rather watch this. We should start at the bottom. I would rather watch this than Rush. How about that? That should make you happy on some level, right?
Or go to Somalia.
I would rather watch this than go to Somalia, but not Nauru. Nauru.
No, not. But okay, you could go to Nauru and watch. I wonder how many people in Nauru like it.
I don't know. Do a poll of the 200 tourists. All right. So shall we? Are you ready to flick chart? Are you finished? Do you have a one more thing or a five more things? What do you got?
Well, I feel like I kind of went through all of our little one more things. Okay. I'm just looking here.
That would be a real kind of be a real milestone if we actually got through all of the everything before I tried to close out the show.
I am getting a weird pop-up blocking thing on Flickchart. What is going on? There we go. That was weird.
Oh, internet.
Yeah.
You giveth, you take it away.
That's right. So, all right. Well, I love the film. I think it's a great film. I mean, I agree. It's a dark, hard film to watch. It's not something that I feel like I would want to put on all the time. Just like Straw Dogs, Sam Peckinpah's great film. Another film that I am really fascinated with. I find it just a genius film, but it's a really hard film to watch. There's a lot of films like that. Schindler's List. It's not one you put on, every other weekend.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah. Not on repeat.
All right. Taxi Driver or The Sandlot?
The Sandlot.
Come on.
Are you kidding me?
Totally Taxi. Well,
you are killing me, Smalls.
Taxi Driver is such a better film. The Sandlot is sentimental. It's sweet. I enjoy it. I enjoy the vibe of it and everything. But Taxi Driver makes me think. It really challenges me. It challenged me as a person, as a human. I enjoy the challenge of Taxi Driver. I enjoy.
You would put Taxi Driver on before The Sandlot. That's what I'm saying. Like on an average Saturday, somebody says, "You want to watch The Sandlot? You want to watch Taxi Driver?" You would say, "I want to watch Taxi Driver."
I'm not.
This is an any given Sunday.
You're changing our opinions, our reasons of voting here.
I am not. Are
yes,
you?
You are. Every time Zero Dark 30 comes up, it's like, well, which is the better movie?
Oh,
Zero
well, we
Dark
both.
30
I think we both hold Zero Dark 30 in a different place. But that's the Zero Dark 30 conundrum. Are you saying that Taxi Driver fits in now for you as a Zero Dark 30 film?
No, but I'm saying Zero Dark 30 is a film that's, again, is probably not something that everybody's going to be putting on the weekend.
I sure as heck would put it on before I watched Taxi Driver.
Okay. All right. I would put on Taxi Driver over The Sandlot.
All right. You know what? I think we can do this for a while. I'm going to give it to you. I have a feeling I'm going to be the one to give up on this one.
Here's an interesting one. Taxi Driver or Marathon Man?
Marathon Man. Hands down, Marathon Man.
Really?
Yes.
I'll give you that one. I probably
begrudgingly
would put Taxi Driver on first, but
all right.
Taxi Driver or The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Yeah, okay. Benjamin Button, obviously, for me. But go ahead, take it. I mean,
now I feel like a cad.
Yeah, no, you're a cad. You're the cad. I just painted you.
I know you did. Taxi Driver or Drive. This is an interesting one. Let's rate this one on our Albert Brooks level.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We're gonna have to find reason. Let's challenge ourselves and think of reasons to vote. Since I know otherwise I'll always be picking Taxi Driver. You'll always be picking the thing other than.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Albert Brooks. Definitely Drive, because
I would pick Drive too, because there's something about the creepiness of his character in Drive that really frightens me.
He is such a staccato. His like otherwise even keel cartoonish character is punctuated with the staccato violence that comes out of nowhere that ends up being such a rewarding thing to watch in his performance.
Yeah, frightening.
Yes.
All right, Taxi Driver or Fight Club? I'll pick Fight Club straight up on this one.
Really?
Yep.
I'm thrilled to hear it. I don't even have to make a point.
That's right. I love Fight Club. Taxi Driver or The Asphalt Jungle? Taxi Driver.
Okay, give me a criteria.
How about on the I guess you wouldn't call Marilyn a prostitute, but on the ladies of the night in the films.
Really? I'm now gonna have
Jodie
to compare
Foster,
12-year-old Jodie Foster to Marilyn Monroe. I think you just made your own bed there, man.
I did. I really did. I did. All right, Marilyn. Gosh. All right, Taxi Driver or Up in the Air? I actually think I like Up in the Air more.
I would also go with Up in the Air. Let's vote on this one on performances of George Clooney in a feature.
Okay.
All right.
All right is number 30.
All right. That's fine. Okay. That's good. I'll be okay with that. There is enough stuff in there that I think is good it's worth it.
Yeah. Hey, before I did have one other thing I wanted to do for Taxi Driver.
Curses.
I know. I wanted to read the opening character description in the script by Paul Schrader because I find it really interesting.
And now, a dramatic reading from Andy Nelson.
Travis Bickle, age 26, lean, hard, the consummate loner. On the surface, he appears good-looking, even handsome. He has a quiet, steady look and a disarming smile which flashes from nowhere, lighting up his whole face. But behind that smile, around his dark eyes, in his gaunt cheeks, one can see the ominous stains caused by a life of private fear, emptiness, and loneliness. He seems to have wandered in from a land where it is always cold, a country where the inhabitants seldom speak. The head moves, the expression changes, but the eyes remain ever fixed, unblinking, piercing empty space. Travis is now drifting in and out of the New York City nightlife, a dark shadow among darker shadows. Not noticed, no reason to be noticed, Travis is one with his surroundings. He wears Ryder jeans, cowboy boots, a plaid western shirt, and a worn beige army jacket with a patch reading King Kong Company, 1968-70. He has the smell of sex about him. Sick sex, repressed sex, lonely sex, but sex nonetheless. He is a raw male force, driving forward toward what one cannot tell. Then one looks closer and sees the inevitable. The clock sprig cannot be wound continually tighter. As the earth moves toward the sun, Travis Bickle moves toward violence. And scene.
Very well done. Very well done. That was terrific. No, in fact is a very compelling, a beautifully written description of this character.
It really is. It's hauntingly written. It really defines him well, I think.
True.
You don't see this sort of, I know that the way screenwriters write, the way that screenplays are written these days, you can't have that sort of character description in a script these days, which is unfortunate because I really think that there's so much that comes out of having that in there.
Mm-hmm. That's that more sort of exuberant language.
Yeah, it's like a full page
right.
description. You know,
right.
it's really interesting.
Right.
So,
all right. We're moving on. We're powering through 1976.
Absolutely.
Next week, what are we going to hit?
We're jumping over to Martin Scorsese's buddy Brian De Palma. We're going to be watching Carrie, one of his 2 films from the year. Yeah.
Wow.
I think the better of the 2. I like Carrie a little more than Obsession.
Yeah, I think so. Man, it's been a long time since I've seen this film.
I hope you like it.
I certainly have better memories of it, but I like it for different reasons. I don't think I've ever watched Carrie for any other reason than like the Halloween scare.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? It's like the Stephen King kind of horror thing. And so I don't think I've ever really paid attention to it as a film.
Oh, fun. It'll be good.
I think I've always watched it on date nights when I'm trying to scare the date. They've never seen Carrie.
Well, it'll be a fun chance to look at it a little more and
a little bit more critically. I don't usually like Brian De Palma. I think I got spoiled when so what was the one where he did with the
Mars movie?
That Tall Drink of Water. No, I actually liked that one. It was what's that? It was
Snake Eyes?
No. Raising Cain. Raising Cain was
that was
just a horrific. John Lithgow and Lolita Davidovich. It was just really bad,
it really was.
And that colored my opinion, I think, of Brian De Palma. And so it'll be good. It'll be good to check out Carrie from the earlier days.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to talking about it.
And we have another announcement for this weekend. If you've made it all the way through this epic episode, we are going to be hitting up a film board for the month. What month is it? April? Film board for the month of April. We're going to be hitting 42, which opens this weekend. This is it's a baseball movie.
Absolutely. It'll tie in nicely with our baseball series.
I'm excited about baseball movies. I sure love that Harrison Ford.
Grumpy Harrison.
Turned into a heck of a grumpy old man.
Yeah, he's doing something different. So
yes, we need to see something different. Very excited to see this. So we're going to be hooking up the film board. We'll be doing the show on Saturday evening. Show will go live on Sunday morning, and so we hope you are able to download and listen to the special edition before our next week's discussion of Carrie.
Fantastic.
I think that's all we got. Good
talk.
I
think so, man.
Good talk. Good talk.
It was a challenging talk.
I feel like you earned it. You earned it this week.
Phew.
Yeah. No, you had to work.
I had so many other great things to talk about, and I felt like I had to defend the film so much. I didn't get to talk about all the great things.
Oh, I'm sorry. I felt like I put you on the ropes then. That's terrible.
It's all right. It's good. No, it's good. I think it hopefully made some of the points that I see in the film come out stronger.
I think you did. Allow me to be your contrast.
Well, thank you.
And scene.
We wanted to take a moment to thank you for your continued support over the years. It's hard to believe that we have been having weekly, in-depth discussions about movies since 2011.
That's right, 12 years and counting. Producing this show is a labor of love for us, but it does require a lot of time and effort each week.
If you enjoy our podcast and would love to help keep it going, there are some easy ways you can show your support. One is by using our Originals page to shop for the original source material that movies we've discussed were based on.
That's right. In Season 1 alone, we covered 13 films adapted from books or plays, from Charlie Kaufman's adaptation to David Fincher adaptations like Fight Club.
In Season 2, we covered even more, like Powell and Pressburger's The Red Shoes and The African Queen from our series about legendary cinematographer Jack Cardiff.
We can't forget about the 4 Jason Bourne movies we talked about. Love those movies. Well, the original trilogy, at least.
For our Richard D. Zanuck series, we did Jaws, Rush, Big Fish, and more. And for our horror series, we talked about John Carpenter's The Thing, which was adapted from Who Goes There?
We did our first great car chase series with movies like Bullet, The French Connection, and Drive. And for the holidays, we did Preston Sturgis's Christmas in July.
We had a great John Huston series with adaptations like The Maltese Falcon and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
And for our baseball series, Moneyball with Brad Pitt. Have I told you lately how much I love that movie?
Yeah, I think you have. Plus, our Magician series and Heist film series had adaptations as well.
Tons of page-to-screen gems. Listeners can find the details and links to the original material at thenextreel.com/originals. Every book, play, or movie you buy through our links helps support the show, and it's no extra cost to you.
So dive in and get your next read today. thenextreel.com/originals has all the films adapted from other sources that not only we have covered, but all of the shows on the Next Reel family of podcasts. Check it out and get reading.
Support the show and build your reading list. It's a win-win. Head to thenextreel.com/originals.